Peace and blessings. Vibe Tribe is on once again. It's going up. I got my brother BaBa Imhotep in the building, and today, a long time coming, especially for you sisters, especially for you sisters who have been requesting. You inbox me, and you was like, brother, the brothers really need some guidance. And men, listen, okay, I need you to be understanding. As our good brother BaBa Imhotep said when I heard him on the program when he did his message, this is about us. we not talking about what the women did. Okay, we talk about what's going on with us. This is a men's discussion tonight. All right, so that's what we're going to be dealing with on tonight. So listen, I connected with my brother like last year or so, man, and I purchased his book. And I feel like this is a tool for our problem within the community, as we all know, okay? And I'm from the inner city. Let's be clear. I grew up in Rochester, New York, the 585. The inner city. I was in the streets, okay? So I'm not talking from an isolated, environment. I grew up on welfare, okay? So I know what that looks like. You understand? So I want to be clear that I know as a man that coming from the inner city who father abandoned him and told him at the age of 5 he didn't want to see him no more. I know this is a tool that our good brother BaBa Imhotep has created, and it's called African Manhood in the 21st Century. If I'm not mistaken, this is your second edition, right? Because you added the preface in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So he added the preface in this one. And family, this is the solution right here. Us as men, we have to be taught by our own. And I believe this brother's more than qualified. First of all, he's a good husband, okay, a good father. And this brother mentors young men. I watched him on social media, okay? But think about it. He offline getting things online because it's happening in real life. You know what I'm saying? So good brother BaBa Imhotep, man, please talk to us, my brother. How you doing this evening, man?
I'm wonderful. I'm well. I'm excited about being on your platform because, like you said, we connected like last year, man, about 15 months ago. Probably like 18 months, actually. It's been a little while.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a little while since we connected.
Wow.
But I know since we've connected, we've always stayed in connect through social media in some capacity. And I've been watching the work that you've been doing. And so when you reached out to me and just asked me that I want to come on and be a part of, to be on this platform, I said, yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm well. And I'm ready to play my part in this exchange.
Yes.
In an effort to just bring forth a message that our brothers can receive, because the message is only for those who are receptive. If you're not receptive, you won't receive the message. If you're at a place where you feel like truth is your enemy, you don't receive the message. See, truth has to be your ally.
That is so true, man. Listen, I heard a message that you was bringing on Facebook, man, and you were addressing some very critical things, brother BaBa Imhotep, that I feel is very critical to us as men. And as you know, my brother, because you grew up in the inner city, man. So, just give us the backdrop, very briefly on your life, because I know from us having our dialogue that brother BaBa Imhotep once upon a time was BaBa Imhotep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, talk to us and tell us, the evolution piece of who you are today and how that plays a role in this wonderful creation, man, this wonderful tool that you created called African Manhood in the 21st Century, please.
Great question. So I'm gonna do a crash course on how I came about. And you're correct. I'm from the streets of Baltimore City. I grew up in Park Heights. Whew. And I only went to the 8th grade. The 8th grade was the highest grade that I went to within the European school system. By the time I got to the 8th grade, I totally had dropped out, and I was committed to running those streets 100%. I was arrested several times when I was young, sent to the detention centers and juvenile institutions. At the age of 16, they waived me into the adult system. So at the age of 16, I spent my first time in adult prison, done 18 months in adult prison, came home, Running the streets again, carrying guns, got shot, got locked up again for some stuff, got sent away for 20 years. I done 13 years and 9 months, and it was during that second incarceration while serving 13 years and 9 months that I met an older brother while I was on lockup in a prison on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And the brother gave me a book to read. He actually asked me to do him a favor. And that book was called From Superman to Man. I read that book and my life began to change in that instance. And that was in 1992, end of 1992. And from there up until now, I have been on a path of redefining myself and refining myself. I'm building discipline. And one of the things that I noticed during my incarceration is I noticed that not only myself, but every other young man that I encountered, none of us had an idea what it meant to be a man. We all had it backwards. We all thought it was about aggression and violence. We thought sexual conquest made us a man. We had it totally twisted. And so I realized that, something had to be put down in a book format. And I started thinking about, what it means to be an African man. So as I began to evolve and began to conduct myself on a higher level, I began to make note of how the responses I received from other people. So within about 7 years, I'm analyzing myself and I realized that, hey, maybe you could put this down in book format. So then I started laying out the pieces and things like that. Then eventually, I started teaching it and then seeing how other men responded to what I was teaching. I realized that it worked. I realized that this works. Men, young boys and young men are becoming men. So I put the first book out. I think I put the first African Manhood book out probably like in 2016, somewhere around there. The first edition, then I put the second edition out. But that was my transformation. Being introduced to African history and culture, studying African history and culture, and going through a process where I was basically getting rid of everything that I deemed to be European. And I'm still in that process. I haven't completed it. I'm still in that process. But I wanted to reorientate how I think. I wanted to look at the world through the lens of an African person. So I strive to develop what I define as being an African worldview. And as I began to define this African worldview, this is how I engage the world. This is how I related to other people. This is how I engage Black people, Black women, Black children, and Black men.
Man, that's absolutely powerful, man. Because in this book it says, he said, nonetheless, in the foreword, he said, nonetheless, in speaking about the contents of this writing, warriors will find a large collection of essential thinking and working tools, and recognizing that you can bring a man to knowledge, but you can't make him think. I love it, man. And also in here, he was talking about how he thought that turning to another culture's way was the way to go. And he recognized from reading this book that it wasn't beneficial for us. That we had to rid ourselves of the mentality of the colonizer and stop looking up to other ethnic groups, man. So I recognize you come to us from an African-centered perspective. I mean, like, even when you're dealing with the young men, the program that you're doing, you can even talk about that if you like to, some space in there, because you start with these young men young, with a African-centered base, man. Talk to us about the criticalness about this piece, please.
So what's critical about it is that necessary to psychological development and psychological stability is a sense of self. But one cannot have a true sense of self if he or she have been displaced from his or her culture. So I come to understand that if we're going to move our young people from one place of development to a higher place of development, they must be grounded within their history and their culture. So you're correct. So I have a nonprofit youth organization, and one of the programs that we are currently operating, well, actually two of them. One of them is called the Asafo Development Program, and that's a manhood development program for boys to move them along the passageway to become men. And then we have our Kimoya Shuli Africana, which is our weekend school for boys or girls ages 8, 9, 10, and 11. where they get African-centered education and African-centered, engagement. Both of those programs, in conjunction to the one, what I'm wearing right now, this is our ASAFO training camp, and this is in partnership with Dr. Ma'at, Conscious Ingenuity. This is in partnership with her, and we do this during the summertime. This program right here is also a manhood development program for boys ages 12, 13, and 14. It's a 1 week extensive training, physical, cultural, you name it. It's based in the Zulu experience, and that's what we give them. Because if we want our boys to grow to be men, to rear families, to raise families, to be there for their wives, they need to know what it means to be a man now. We can't wait until they turn 18 and say, go off and become a man. We can't, that's foolishness and that's backwards rearing, right? We have to be very intentional and purposeful when it comes to our boys, and they have to be exposed at the earliest of ages to men who are living in a very practical way of what it means to be a man, an African man at that, that's standing strong, rearing families, that's going up against this beast, that's defending the community. That's what our boys need to see, and they need to know that part of being a man is that they must be able to have responsibility and accountability. We have to show them that, though. We have to show them what it means to be responsible, and then we have to teach them how to be accountable. Because if they don't understand how to be accountable, they're never going to grow. Because there's no growth where there's no accountability. Because if you can't take account to the things that you have done wrong, then you are subject to do those things again wrong. Accountability is what corrects us. So we have to teach our boys how to be accountable by showing them what it looked like within ourselves. We must show them that we are accountable. And if we can show them accountability, then they can emulate responsibility and accountability. If we can get those two pieces into our boys, we have done them a great service, and they are on their way to becoming good men.
Now, from your experience growing up in the inner city, would you say that you catered the program to what you see is actually lacking?
Yes. The programs are based on, I looked at myself. And what I did a very serious self-assessment. And I realized that I wasn't a bad child. I realized I wasn't a stupid child. I realized I wasn't a child incapable of learning. I realized I wasn't a bad seed. I realized I was none of those things. I realized that there was gaps in my development. It was gaps in my development. Because I had gaps in my development, I was ill-equipped to make proper decisions with real life situations. And I said, I said, on my watch, no boy was going to grow up with gaps in his development. I was going to plug all the gaps. So you can be prepared and equipped to make decisions with these real life issues that you are destined to confront. You are destined to confront. You are destined to confront people trying to make you feel bad about something. If you're not equipped, you're not going to know how to deal with that. You're destined to confront in the inner city somebody selling drugs or trying to make you think that selling drugs is okay. If you're not equipped, you're going to fall victim. Right? That go on and on and on and on. You know, if you're not equipped, you're going to fall victim because you don't have the latest tennis shoes or the latest coat. You're going to fall victim to the temptation if you're not equipped. And I didn't want no boy to be ill-equipped, because if the boys who are ill-equipped on our watch, that's an indication of us as men failing those boys. No boy should be ill-equipped on the watch of a man.
Man, that's powerful. Our ancestor in your book, by Amos Wilson, he said, a man must be threatening, particularly to his enemies. If you don't frighten the enemies of the race, then the enemies are going to come in and take advantage of the race. He must learn to display his capacity to defend to the depth his group, his principles, and his people. If possible, frighten away his rivals, those who threaten. Oh, man. You know, to me, that goes right along with what you're talking about, my brother. So from your experience dealing with these young men, Brother BaBa Imhotep, please share some things with us that you know, you want to really point out to us that you recognize that we, like you said, as men and as the village, really need to home in on. Like, one I know is the lack of love. Like, you know, tell us some things that, if you don't mind, you know, because I know counseling is very sensitive, but if what you can divulge, please tell us some things, if you would, that we really need to be on the watch for, how we can counter those things.
One of the things, like, and that's why in my second edition, there's a piece in there I put in there about being gentle, because there's no conversation about manhood and gentleness, because gentleness has been co-opted, and we wrongly think gentleness is weakness. So we're not gentle with our boys. Now, to be gentle doesn't mean that you give them a pass. It doesn't mean that you cater to him. It doesn't mean that you pacify. It means that you hug him. It means that. It means that you are sensitive to his feelings. It means that. It means that you recognize that your son is a small person. That's what it means to be gentle. So you handle him in such a way that you're going to develop him and not crush him. So that's what it means. So I think that as men, we need to be more gentle with our boys. We need to be able to hug our sons, our nephews, and our grandsons. We need to be able to laugh with them at times. We need to be able to let them know that, you know, hey, when you cry, if you hurt, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to tell them, stop crying, don't cry. Right? We don't need to punch them in the chest. We don't need to punch them in the chest, right? Because if you instill love into anything, that thing is naturally going to protect itself. So I ain't got to beat you to give you courage. I just got to give you enough self-love, right? If you love yourself, you're naturally going to protect yourself. So I ain't got to beat you all up. I ain't got to kick you in your behind. I ain't got to do all that to you. You know what I'm saying? Granted, I can get out there and help you exercise and get your body stronger. We can do that, right? But I need to be able to hug you. I need to be able to love you. I need to be able to tell you I love you. I need to be able to tell you you're special. I need to be able to tell you you're great. And I need to be able to allow you to see me vulnerable. You need to be able to see my vulnerability if you're going to learn how to utilize your own vulnerability. We expect boys to grow into being men without any example of what it means to be a man. And then when they start failing, we want to hold them accountable for failing at something that they had no training at doing. That don't make any sense. You want the boy to love his son, but he never knew love from his own father or his own mother. So how you gonna love his son? Right? Especially if he hasn't done no type of self-work. If he ain't done no self-work, right? He's not gonna know how to love his son. Now, some of us can come from those bad backgrounds and we just start doing some self-work and we can figure some things out. But if you have not had any models, no examples, nor are you doing any self-work, you will not know how to love your son if you haven't had love yourself. So there's the cycle. The way we break the cycle is that we break the training.
I like that, man. That's powerful. And I just want to caveat on what you're saying, because my wife, she often says that my grandfather did a good job, because it was my grandfather, man, who taught me chivalry. So what you're saying is absolutely right. My grandfather was a Marine Corps veteran. He fought in Vietnam, and he was a warrior, man. My grandfather carried a gun on his hip, man. And you know, my grandfather didn't play, man. You know what I'm saying? He was a man's man. But what I seen, because my grandfather had a medical issue, he couldn't work. And he used to make sure that my grandmother, because she worked, when she came home, that her meal was cooked, her bath water was ready, and he treated her like a queen, man. He pulled out her chair for her. He always opened the door for her. You know, he took very good care of my grandmother. And I must admit that that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
Because he taught me how to do that. He said, now, he was telling me, go, son, go open up the door for your grandmother. You know what I'm saying? And I must admit, I didn't do that until I got around my grandfather. And my grandfather instilled that inside of me, chivalry, you know, respect, and how to cater to a woman. So you're absolutely right, because, you know, when our sons are left up to the gangster rap, it's a rap. When you leave them up to the gangster rap, it's a rap, because it's true. A lot of my friends, they didn't really have fathers in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was left to the streets, and the MCs, you know, in the game, you know, are actually raising our sons. You know what I'm saying? You know, so, you know, let's talk about that. You know, how can we go about, you know, countering when they're so used to that way of life? How can we counter that, my brother?
I'm gonna ask a rhetorical question, then I'm gonna answer your question, but this is just for the sake of our conversation. Around the year 2000, I came to a realization, and this is what I realized. There's not a single thing that exists within the natural world that's against structure. Mm-hmm. Nothing in the natural world is against structure. When I came to that realization, I knew one thing. I knew that if I presented love, that the boys would accept structure. So the way we're going to counter it is that the men have to go back into the environments where the boys are at and get them. We have to go get them. In my book, there's a chapter in my book. It's called Boys Run Amok. It's called Boys Run Amok. And what I say is this. I say when men do not stand up, boys run amok. So the boys are going to act out in our community as long as there are no men there. Because what the men are doing, the men are going to work every day. They're doing 8 hours at work. They're coming home and they're going back in their house. They're not in the community. They're not out there engaging the boys. So children are left to take care of themselves in an open environment, a community. So we see all the collision courses, the fighting and all that's going on. Why? Because children don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to resolve conflict. They don't have conflict resolution skills. That's
man, you on the money.
So we're watching all this stuff playing out, and we're talking about it, but we're not out there. They don't have the skills. They don't have the skills to move through the conflict. They don't have the skills to move through. If I'm walking down the street and he bump into me and all my friends look at me and say, oh, man, he bumped into you. I don't know how to deal with that. So I'm going to do what I think my friends want me to do. So I'm going to start a fight. Then if I lose the fight, I don't have any sense of self-dignity to accept the loss. So now I feel I got to redeem myself by going and getting a gun, right? So they're doing these things because their leaders are not there. The leaders of boys are men. The leaders of boys are men. But we're not there, right? We got so much knowledge now. We got so much information, so much money. We in the house. See, my thing is this. My thing is that we got to find a way to get in our community. We got to find a way to get in our community so we can show our boys, you know, what real love is, what men look like. We don't got to go out there and beat them down. We don't got to go out there and judge them. We don't got to go out there and over-critique them. We got to go out there and vibe with them. We got to let them know, hey, y'all understand, I was here. You know, we got to vibe with them. And then we got to gradually rebuild a relationship with them that will allow us to regulate their life in some capacity. Because without the relationship, they're not going to listen. So it's going to take some time to build the relationship, and the relationship is going to come from consistency. So we can't pop up once a month and think we're going to change things. We have to be committed to this and know that it's going to require for us to be consistent in engaging these boys. And then from there, build relationships, and from building relationships, you can begin to redirect their lives.
That's very powerful. So being that, you know, we have multiple ethnic groups amongst African people, what do you say then to those who, okay, like for instance, I'm Mende, you know, and amongst us, our initiation is Poro, you know, that teaches us how to be men, how to conduct ourselves in the community, how to defend our community, you know what I'm saying, and how to be good husbands. You know, what is some things that you guys implement that you seem very effective that helps these young men to be groomed into the mindset that they need in order for them to conduct themselves as such?
Let me say, I'll answer the question. I want to say this, right? And one of the things I think we have to be real honest about, because in all the work that I do, I don't, and I'm a practitioner of African spirituality. So I'm going to say that up front, like my whole spiritual concept is African, right? But I don't see a Khan priest or practitioners, Yoruba priest or practitioners, Kemetic priest or practitioners. I don't see them in our communities. I don't see them out there. I don't see them working with the people. Right? I think that we've got so much information, so now we're so high. You know what I'm saying? I don't see them out there.
That's
right?
deep.
So the thing that works best that I recognize and I realize is that, I'll give an example. Like last year, we did this program for 1 week last year. We had 14 boys, 12 of which we never met before. Right? 12 of which we never met before. Within 3 days, their mothers was talking about the impact of the program. Wow. The mothers was talking about the transformation that they see. Was talking about now when I come home, my son talking about, do you want me to take the trash out? Do you want me to wash the dishes? Stuff that he would buck against and wouldn't think about doing at first because the mother was asking him to do it. And his idea of manhood was twisted. But when he heard men telling him, this is what we do and this is what men do, he took that in and he accepted that and took it back into his house. Right? So what works best? What works best is black men showing black boys that you love them. That's the best ingredient.
Wow,
that's the best ingredient. Black men showing black boys that you love them. Because once you show them you can love them, you can induct them into any program that you have. If you show them you got love and you serious and you genuine.
Man, that's so true. And I have to caveat on what you said because my stepfather, man, my mother was, a little lenient, you know what I'm saying? And some things, not everything, some things, and it came to my allowance. And he was like, nah, if he didn't do what he's supposed to do, then he don't get his allowance. If he do half of his work, he get half of his allowance. You know what I'm saying? And what he taught me is that you work for what you want. Yes. And what you need, yes. And you get what you put out, you know what I'm saying? So you reap what you sow, you know what I mean? And because of that, he helped me to be a man of a good, solid work ethic that believed in working for what I want. And then I didn't have this sense of entitlement. I didn't have this unrealistic expectation of life. I understood just from that situation, brother, I promise you, just from that. And I was in the 6th grade. And I'm a 46 going on 47-year-old man. And that one lesson, and I love what you brothers are doing. That one lesson stuck with me for the rest of my life, man.
Yes. And it's interesting you say that because that goes back to my initial message that day, right? Men has to be allowed to be fathers to their sons. They have to be allowed to be fathers to their sons. And I meet with a lot of men that's struggling, with being able to be fathers to their sons because the mother has an idea of how the father should be the father. I'm not talking about, let me be quite clear. Now, I know you got some people out there who don't have a clue as to how to be a father. I'm not talking about those kind of individuals. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about when you got a good man in that house.
Yes.
A loving man in that house. Yes. A man that got his head on straight. I'm saying let him be a father to his son. There we go.
I say that all the time.
Let him be a father to his son. Don't try to regulate how he be a father. And that's what's happening. We don't talk about it because we get into that. Oh, that's a sensitive topic. But that's what's happening. I'm talking to a lot of brothers, good brothers. Man, that's hurt. Listen to me, brother. These men are hurt, and they express it to me how hurt they are that they can't be a father without them colliding with the mother. You know, because the son, because he had a son and a mother, right? The maternal bond between a son and a mother starts out stronger than the paternal bond between a son and a father.
Oh, yeah.
It starts out strong, right? And the reason it's strong is because the mother and the son, they were one for at least 9 months.
Exactly.
Right? When the son comes to the world, the father has to build his relationship. And the mother has to trust and know she got the right man there and don't intervene. Let him father his son. Let him be the father. Let him bring his son up. Let him do the things he needs to do, right? Now, because the son and the mother had this unique maternal bond between one another, what the son typically do, because I did it and most boys do it, right? Most boys do it. We typically lean to our mothers in a sympathetic way to try to get her to be lenient on us. And most mothers, not all, most mothers are lenient on their boys. And the father typically can see the game that the boy running, and he try to get in there to correct that. And then that mother, I think you're too hard on him. I think you need to let up on him. Right? And there we go with that thing, right? I'm saying, you know, let good men be fathers to their sons.
Okay, if you talk about me, Brother Prince, I'm actually Mende.
No,
that's true.
I think they're saying that I may be Mende with you.
Yeah, he said you and that brother resemble. He might be. Yeah, you could go for it too. You could be a con too. But nevertheless, though, man, you know, you're absolutely right, man. You know, that's something I want to discuss because one issue I noticed that, and I have to definitely hear the hearts of my sisters too, man, is how we treat women. You know, and let's talk about that, man, because it seemed like you said that earlier too. You said the sex and you know, and how many phone numbers we get, and you know, it seemed like we think that just because we bring home, you know, the resources, that's it. Well, you know, I brought home the resources. You know, we good in the bedroom, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, so you know, let's deal with that scope, man, because I feel like that's something that we really need to hit on, man, because it's been a lot of sisters, you know, dealing with that, and you know, a lot of them like, I need you to like love me. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were saying. We expecting brothers to know how to love who never been loved, who have a misconception of what love is, who don't understand how to be in relationship. Right? So those are real issues that we do have. You know, manhood isn't what you are born as. Manhood is what you become. You're not born as a man, you're born as a male. But you must become a man over time through training by other men. Right? Typically men make men. Now we live in a society where we have been removed from that form of training and development and cultivation. So we have grown males who are actually functioning in capacities as men that aren't necessarily men in every capacity of their being. What I mean is this: we have grown males who are physically a man because their physical have developed. But in terms of their psychological development, they still boys. In terms of their spiritual development, they still boys. In terms of their social maturation, they're still boys. So we're dealing with like this this hybrid, if you will. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a mixture because we are not within our culture, and culture is instrumental in developing men. Our culture. We have to get back to that. So, to the point those brothers that are behaving that way, my suggestion to the sisters is they should suggest to their men to join men's groups. That's what they should do. That should be their suggestion. And if the brother don't know of a man's group to look into, they should be able to contact you at the EY movement, since they're on your platform, and you can work with them or you can plug them in. But these sisters have to start suggesting to these brothers, I suggest you join some men's group, spend some time around some productive, highly productive men that have been successful in their marriages with their women. Simple as that.
Wow. Man, that is powerful, man. Because I know this for a fact, you know what I'm saying, that some brothers thinking that, and we got to get rid of it, man. You're right, Brother BaBa Imhotep, man. Some brothers think that cheating is something that's natural. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna share something with you, man, personal, man. And it's not my father-in-law, not my current father. I want to be clear before I say what I'm saying. But one of my ex's father-in-laws, you know what I'm saying, my father-in-law, like, they was going over there to see these women. I'm married to his daughter. He had my uncle-in-law with him. And so, we going over there, and I'm like, what are we doing over here? I thought we was going over here. You know what I'm saying? This is a true story. Then he was like, you a man, aren't you? And I was shocked. I was like, I'm married to this dude's daughter. And I'm his niece's, I'm his niece's husband. So I'm married to your niece. And man, that shocked me, bro. I mean, even to this day, I'm blown away that her own father and her own uncle thought that way. Like, you're a man, aren't you? And that, I feel like, brother, we really got to change that mindset of not being loyal. It's not manhood. That is a big problem. It's all in the songs, being a player and, have as much sex as you. Oh, don't be loyal to this woman. You know what I'm saying? It's bananas.
I'm glad you introduced that. I'm gonna tell you why. It speaks to a disregard for womanhood. I'm gonna tell you why. Because most of those brothers who cheat and are disloyal to their wives are loyal to their homeboy. I'm disloyal to my wife, but I'm loyal to my homeboy. So why is my wife less deserving of loyalty? Why is she less deserving of loyalty, but my homeboy isn't? Because we see the woman as being less than. That's chauvinism. That's a white thought that's driving us to think that way. That's white thinking, right? So that's the reason why I'm suggesting that brothers has to be inside men's group so we can dig into their psychology and dig that crap out. That crap got to be dug out because they're going to continue to do that and ruin families and ruin lives by behaving that way.
That is so true, man.
That's a twisted way of thinking about manhood. I'm going to be loyal to my homeboy to the teeth. My homeboy can go out there and commit a wrong, and I ain't had nothing to do with it, and I can get picked up, and I'm going to be loyal to the teeth. And I won't say anything. But yet, my wife don't get no loyalty, and she been with me through thick and thin. That's weird, man. But that's a sign of underdevelopment. That's a clear sign of underdevelopment. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a bunch of people that are underdeveloped and no one is talking about underdevelopment. We are expecting these underdeveloped people to function as they are fully developed people. No, we got to be talking about you need to join a men's group. You ain't getting no more of this until you get in the men's group. I'm not trying to assault you or hurt you, but you need to do some work, and I'm going to go do some work. And that's how we got to carry it.
Wow.
Got to carry it that way.
That is so true, man. And then when the woman addresses the issue Another problem I'm hearing is that it's being flipped. Like, oh, you just accusing me. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you just jealous, of my relationship with this woman. And then the woman get told, well, if you can't handle my relationship with her, you know what I'm saying, then we don't need to be together.
So this is what I would say. Never dealing with relationship issues. I love it. I love it. Now, I most definitely don't give brothers a pass. But I also know this, that women have some due diligence to do, right? We rush into relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be involved with someone, because we talk about African centered, now we know in any of our original societies before the Europeans came in, you ain't rushing to a relationship. It was a whole investigative process that took place. Elders was involved, everybody was involved to make sure that this thing can work. Background checks and all of that. You know what I'm saying? We got away from that because we want to be fast. So when you want to be fast, you want to attract something that's underdeveloped. And then when you attract this underdeveloped individual, now you want him to perform as if he's fully developed. He's incapable, right? So both has to be responsible if we're going to talk about solutions. Granted, brothers shouldn't behave as they behave, but I would also caution my sisters to be very careful with your selection. What I tell the sisters in my group is this, and they'll tell you, I check in all the sisters. Anybody like you out there? No. You know, the moment you start liking someone, you bring him to me. The moment you start liking someone or someone liking you, you bring him to me. You bring him to a man. Let a man assess this joker. And I'm going to tell you what you got. Simple as that. Don't be so fast. Don't hide him. You know how we like to do. We like to sneak around and hide him for a while and all that old stuff and get all caught up. And then you want to bring him around. It's too late, though. Bring that joker around the moment you think that he the one.
Right now.
You bring him around. So we can figure out what you're working with. Bring him to the men that's in your family or the men that love you. Bring them around.
Absolutely, man.
So we can minimize a lot of this. Because you know why? I'm going to tell you one thing I know about underdeveloped men. They don't want to be in the presence of men.
Fact, my brother. Fact. I'm telling you, I've dealt with it, man. I definitely have to concur with you on that one. Because I had some brothers in my circle back in the day, man. You know, they weren't doing their wife right. You know what I'm saying? And I checked them.
Yeah, see?
You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping it real. You know, I'm just keeping it straight up 100 right now, man. I'm like, bro, you know, like what you said, this woman is faithful to you, man. You know what I'm saying? This woman love you. You got children with this woman, man. And she thinking everything good, and you get ready to go out here and mess around with these loose women. And it's something like what my wife said. She said something earlier too in the comments. She was saying, you know, that some men messing around like that and have their wife life on the line. Like, you know, not even wearing protection. It's still not right. You know what I'm saying? Period. You know, man, you still wrong. You know what I'm saying? But even to that level, you know what I'm saying? And then coming home and then sleeping with your wife, man. You know, we really, like you said, bro, we really got to be more responsible with our actions. And I feel like personally, if that woman isn't the one for you, then you need to be straight up with her. You know what I'm saying? Don't play games with her. Don't string her along. You know what I'm saying? If she not the one, tell her straight up, and then let her go ahead on with her life. Cause she don't deserve to be played with. But see, that's where these titles mess with us too. Oh, you're a player. And what do players do? Play games. I'm gonna leave it at that, B. I'm gonna let you go ahead and say your last words, man.
Two things I want to say.
Sure.
I think when people are coming together, they should already have an idea of who they want to be involved with, and they should be thinking about if it's a woman, she should be thinking about a man that can complement her, right? So she should already know enough about her own strengths and weaknesses and what she needs in a man, right? and she should have this mapped out in her head. And when they meet, she should have upfront real conversations first, not laughing and joking and feel good conversations. No, real conversations. Because the reason you and I are talking is not just to be out here playing no games. I'm not looking for somebody just to go get wet. That's not what this is about, honey. You gotta let her know that's not where I'm at. I need to know who you are. You know what I'm saying? What you are on the inside. Ask real questions. And I think one of the standards that women should have, if you're not going to require or seek a man that's linked to some type of structure, you should make sure your man belongs to a strong men's group. A strong men's group. Because if he's a part of a strong men's group, it's going to be hard for him to not do what he's supposed to do. Now, I'm going to shift real quick. Remember the movie Fences, Denzel Washington and Viola Davis?
Yes, I definitely do.
It's a very profound scene that's never talked about. It's in the bar when Denzel Washington is having a conversation with his friend. His friend checked him for cheating on Viola Davis. And he said, she's my friend too. If you don't go tell her, then I'm going to go tell her. Right? So he did what he was supposed to do. And I think people got to understand that we can't keep giving refuge to backwardsness. You know, like, I give an example. Like, even females have friends with men who they know cheat. Right? I know this to be the truth. But yet they don't want to be cheated on themselves. But they know men that cheat. And they allow these men to still be their friends. Right? I think if we start cutting the junk off at the head, the junk can't live. If we all start cutting it off at the head, then the junk can't live. We got to stop giving refuge to this backwardsness. Because when they come back and bite you, then you feeling it. But yet you partake in it also. You condoned it when it wasn't you. But when it's you, it's an issue. We can't be that way. We got to cut this junk off. I don't play no games with it. I don't be around it. I don't hang out with it. I don't condone it. No one is not going to be in my presence and not do right by their woman. I don't care who you are. You can be my father. And if you ain't doing right by your woman or your wife, it's going to be a problem. So can I address something that's in the comments?
Oh, absolutely, man. Please do.
So what I'm saying to say the difficulty with many women is that even when you tell them, they hate you for it. See, to be righteous can never be contingent upon whether or not people like you or dislike you. The task is for us to do what's right. If I dislike you for doing what's right by me, then I was never meant for you to be in my life.
Uh-oh.
Simple as that.
Uh-oh.
That's the case. So don't worry about the dislike or the hate, because that's letting you know where they are at. Our task is to be righteous. That's what it means to be human. To be human is not just to be born and have a certain anatomical and biochemical and physiological makeup. That's not all that is required to be a human being. Also, we have to have some high functioning faculties, morality, ethics, integrity. We have to be moving towards righteousness because we have a divine essence, and our divine essence must shine forth. It can't shine forth if we are bathing and showering in perversity, in mud, in cut, in lies and deception. The best of you can't come out with all of that crap. So we can't worry about what other people think. We got to do what's right for our spirit. And what's right for our spirit is for us to be right. That's my act.
That's powerful, my brother. All right, family. So I wanted to put BaBa Imhotep information up there real quick so all of you could get in touch with him, man. Thank you so much again for your words, man, of wisdom on this evening, man. Is anything you want to share, your last thoughts before we close out for the evening?
Yes, my last thoughts are, strive to be righteous, be the best, and never content with no place where you are at in life. Don't content yourself. Don't worry about the next person. Don't judge yourself against the next person, and don't compare yourself against the next person. Wake up each and every day to be a righteous being. That's what this is about. Every day when you wake up in the morning, you strive to be righteous. And by righteous, I don't mean passive. I don't mean weak. I don't mean servile. I don't mean subordinate. I don't mean any of that by righteous. I mean right actions. By right actions, I mean we must be ma'at. That's what I'm talking about. And we should wake up each and every day with that aspiration on our mind.
So, family, if you want to follow our brother BaBa Imhotep, there go his information. I want to leave it up there, give you guys to have some time to write down the information so you can reach out to him. And also, he is the founder of the Race First as well movement, man. So please, if you would talk about that, and then if you would be so kind to share with us any upcoming events that you have.
Yeah. So the Race First movement is a movement that's primarily geared towards facilitating organization on a large scale for Black people. I feel that part of our troubles in terms of this exploitation and oppression that we are undergoing is linked to our inability or lack thereof of being organized. And I believe that if we can create means through which we can become better organized, we can begin to maximize our efforts at moving forward. So we have currently a race-based rally that's happening in multiple states every year. This year is July the 29th. So we're in Baltimore City, we're in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, we're in Gulfport, Mississippi, Tampa, Florida, and hopefully our Cincinnati, get their piece together, and it can happen in Cincinnati as well this year. But if you want to support this particular endeavor, this particular effort, just reach out to me. Just contact me. If you're trying to bring a Race First rally to your state, reach out to me. Let's just figure out how we can work together and maximize the work that needs to be done to move our people forward. Let's stop complaining. Let's stop talking about what the next person is not doing. If you can observe what the next person isn't doing, then that means you need to be doing it. Simple as that. Every time you observe what needs to be done, then you do it. Don't keep on pointing out that society isn't doing or this, that, and other. Do the work. It's enough work for all of us to do. Stop complaining and stop critiquing what the next person isn't doing. If you feel like it should be done, then you do it. If you're not going to do it, don't make the critique.
Again, family, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, those of you brothers and even sisters, if you want to get a copy of the African Manhood in the 21st Century, reach out to our brother BaBa Imhotep. Again, there go all of his information right there on the banner. Okay, his Instagram, his Facebook, even the website that you can go to as well for those who want to learn more about their organization, the PLM. Oh yeah, PLM too, if you don't mind touching on that. That's right.
Yeah, so PLM, it stands for Pan-African Liberation Movement, and the central purpose of PLM is to bring about African sovereignty for African people. Our organization exists to serve as a revolutionary example of what a vanguard organization should look like. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is institution building and family development and rearing and raising Black children. We believe that if we can do those things well, we on our way towards sovereignty.
All praises be. Family, for those of you out in the audience, thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember, Iwe Pele Movement, we have the ministry on every Sunday and Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. We focus on your spiritual, your physical, and your financial being. And the basis is African-centered. Okay, so we deal with African-centered information to help out our village. Okay, Nguvu Pamoja, stronger together. Peace.
Peace.